Hello, folks. Welcome back. Once every decade or so, a new company is formed that rewrites an entire industry. And what follows is the reason investors are starting to view AST SpaceMobile as the toll bridge to the future internet. Let's look at the details. So this company was founded by a serial entrepreneur by the name of Abel Avalon, and I believe he's of Peruvian descent. And he has a long history of working in the satellite communication industry. He sold his prior company prior to founding AST Mobile and plowed the proceeds into AST. And by the way, the name AST stands for Advanced Space Technology, so it's a little bit odd that the name has the word space in there twice, but we'll see that there's some very, very exciting opportunities that are available with this investment. This one is just blowing my mind. So what they do is direct to cell phone broadband satellite communication. Okay, so we're going to go into the details on this, but we're talking about being connected anywhere on planet Earth. Okay. Went public in 2021 via a SPAC. So this is also quite interesting. All right. So here's a little stock chart past couple years, up 1,294%. All right. I missed most of this. Uh, S&P up, 44.8% over that time period. So, anyways, I put that in there just to try to maybe grab some people's attention that there's something happening. And one of the things that I'd like to emphasize to all investors is that anytime there is change in society, there is opportunity for from a business standpoint, there's opportunity for investors. And what we're going to see in this video is there's tremendous technological change occurring in the cell phone industry. All right. So why do we have direct to cell phone broadband satellite service? Why is it important? Well, current cell phone tower service is very spotty and inconsistent. Anybody that's done any traveling down, on vacations will notice that, the cell phone service, the number of bars, the connectivity goes up and down, and sometimes there's even dead spots. I know if I go up north in order to visit my mom, there's dead spots on the drive up north. Um, in reality, 50% of the geographic US is not covered, okay, by cell phone service. The BEAD Act in 2021, bipartisan supported legislation, was designed to connect rural United States with broadband. And it's a good idea to do that. Unfortunately, out of the 45 billion that was appropriated, zero people have been connected so far. And that kind of to me highlights the difference in efficiency between government types of projects compared to what we're going to see in this video, which is a private company. 75% of Canada is not covered by cell service. So imagine, doing any traveling there and all the people in Canada that don't have that type of connection through their mobile phones. Very low coverage in many of the lesser developed countries in the United States. And broadband connectivity strongly correlates to the gross domestic product growth of countries. Okay. So I have a textbook on microeconomics that I just got done reading, and there's an example in there about fishermen. I think it was somewhere off the coast of India, uh, before they had cell phone connectivity along the coastline versus after. And the fishermen in this village were before they had cell phone connectivity, were unable to determine which port to take their fish to in order to sell. And they would oftentimes have, they would all show up with this product that loses value very quickly. And if they chose the wrong port, they would get very little, a low price for their product. So after they had cell phone connectivity, they could determine like what the market conditions were, and they could head towards the proper port. So information, okay, access to information, especially broadband information, is critical for developing an economy. Okay, so this company is going to be connecting the entire world with broadband service very, very soon. Uh, cell phone towers don't exist in the oceans, right? Okay, so there's all these maritime type of applications. Um, you know, Anytime there's a natural disaster like a hurricane, what we saw in the Carolinas and Virginia, cell phone service gets wiped out, and that's exactly when first responders need it most. Okay, so having the connectivity come from space, there's no real weather up there, gives you the ability of uh, uh, of connecting to people and first responders in a way that can save many, many lives. And so this is going to be a big market opportunity for them, is that type of situation. Military conflicts, cell phone towers get knocked out. That's a big application. As a matter of fact, the U.S. Department of Defense just put in a fairly sizable contract with this company. Um, Internet of Things, fleet management type software. My son-in-law works for a company called Samsara as a project lead type of engineer, and they are connecting construction vehicles. Think of fleets of buses, school buses, truck drivers with internet connected devices, and being able to manage your fleet of vehicles remotely and being able to diagnose potential maintenance issues remotely is really important. So the Internet of Things type of opportunity is going to be very big for this company. Um, and just no more dead spots. Okay. All right. So gonna get a little sciencey. This is should be pretty simple if you have, high school, introductory high school algebra. You should be able to understand how this company works. This equation basically says that the signal strength, or the illumination E, for a cell phone signal is directly related to the power of the source that is transmitting the signal divided by the distance between the transmitter and the receiver squared. Okay. And back in the 90s, I remember when Motorola created this thing called the Iridium project, and there have been geosynchronous satellite phone type technology in the past, but not a very good option, because we're geosynchronous, where you put a single satellite in an orbit that stays above a certain point on Earth, is 36,000 kilometers high. Okay. And so with having very large distance, then the signal strength is super low. So then you're in a situation of you have to have giant antennas. I remember the original satellite TV services had about a 6 foot diameter satellite dish that people would have like in their backyards out in the country when I was a kid. Um, so low Earth orbit is the new way of doing this that is really being propelled forward by AST SpaceMobile. It's only 400 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, so 1/90th the distance of the geosynchronous. And then if you compare that to the typical average distance between a cell phone and a cell phone tower, okay, terrestrial connection, that's about 3 kilometers. So it's a lot higher, right? So in order to make up for that extra distance of having the satellites up there in space as your connection point, they have really, really ramped up the power of the transmitter and the receiver with gigantic antenna, gigantic solar cell array. And so one side, the outside of this, in this image here, are solar cells, and on the inside of this structure, we have the antenna. So so tiny antennas on your cell phone mean giant antennas for the satellite. 64 square meters, so about the size of a basketball court for this antenna. Okay. Once again, no modification of cell phone is needed. You don't have to put in a special chip. You don't have to modify, plug anything in. You can just use your cell phone just like normal with AST Mobile partnered service. All right, so we're gonna look at the financials here for a second. So we're goodness, very small revenue. All right, we just went revenue, started to develop revenue this year in 2025. Negative earnings, all right, but here's the thing. We're in the very beginning of an S curve type of adoption situation, and they have 1.2 billion in cash, which is enough for them to manufacture 100 satellites, which is more than enough to cover the whole planet Earth with high bandwidth broadband service to cell phones. Okay, 27 billion for the current market cap. In my opinion, let's say that we have, and they have contracts in place already so that within the next couple of years, they're going to be able to deliver cell phone service to, with the current contracts, 3 billion of the 7 or 8 billion people on planet Earth. And if you say on average that they're going to get about $12 per year from me on average for those customers. Some customers obviously are not going to sign up for this service. Some customers are going to sign up for it, but they're going to pay a premium on their cell phone bill. So if you average it out, it's about $12 per year per person. And their profit margins off of each additional customer they add is going to be, at least in my opinion, about a 50% margin, because it's a fixed cost uh, with very high with very low variable cost type of business model. And so every new customer that they're going to be adding to their service is going to just drop profit to the bottom line. So I estimate that within the next, say, 5, 6, maybe 7 years, we're talking about a company that is probably going to have a market capitalization of around $500 billion, which is, using the language of Peter Lynch, um, it would be a 20 bagger, okay? Meaning, like, instead of like you know, like a double is a two bagger, a triple, and in baseball language is a three bagger. He would call this a 20 bagger type of investment opportunity. All right. They have pre-orders already and $1 billion in prepayment revenue that is coming in. This little chart that I stuck in down here is a stock chart of American Tower. It's a cell phone cell tower business, and you can see that over the past few years their stock price has been trending down. And so the bottom line is humans are in an era in the year 2025 going forward where there's going to be a transition to terrestrial based cell phone service, which is inherently got lots and lots of issues with reliability to satellite based communication, and AST SpaceMobile is going to own this market. All right, so just a little bit on what drives the stock price on AST SpaceMobile. Well, they tested the service with Bell Canada, and the Bell Canada test was excellent. We're talking about video call capability, and boom, stock price catapulted up, and then, you know, so that's greed in place there, and then it kind of trails down a little bit, and oh, when is the next satellite launch going to occur? And then boom, they launched a satellite, their Bluebird 6 satellite launch, and that catapulted the price up. So I'm showing this to show, number one, the stock price is going to be super volatile on a week by week, day by day, month by month basis. So this is really only for people that, like myself, are long-term investors. All right, why is the time right for AST SpaceMobile? 3 to 4 year lead over SpaceX and satellite to phone service. They have 3,000 patents. Okay. I think that the Europeans, for example, are going to have some trust issues with Elon Musk's SpaceX type company, and they're going to be slow to adopt, and other countries maybe as well. The bottom line is that SpaceX was set up, and they're smaller. They have very small satellites compared to AST SpaceMobile. Um, they can't deliver the bandwidth to the cell phone, so they're going to have to like completely redesign their satellite network. And I think that Elon Musk has got his sights with SpaceX more set on different goals with the company, like getting to Mars, all right, which is the mission of the company. And they do have a pretty decent business with connection to like an antenna-based Wi-Fi type of systems. Massive fixed costs and very small variable costs means that we're essentially going to have a company that's going to have an unregulated worldwide monopoly on this type of cell phone service. It's just crazy. If Starlink does succeed, then it would turn it into a duopoly. But anybody that studied economics knows that the next best thing to having a monopoly on a worldwide product with billions of customers is having a duopoly, because in both situations there's long run economic profit uh, available. All right. The low Earth satellite technology is solved. It works. They've tested it in Japan. They've tested it in Canada. They've tested it all over the place. Cost to put the satellites in orbit is dropping dramatically. Thank Elon Musk and the SpaceX people for doing all the research and development, and now other space satellite launch services are popping all up, and they've learned how to dramatically decrease the cost of getting stuff into orbit. $5,000 per kilogram back in the 80s and 90s when NASA had a monopoly over this business. And then, boom, you can see the downward sloping curve. I'm expecting that the cost to put stuff in orbit is going to be down to around $50 per kilogram in the next 5 years. Um, their business model is excellent. Shared revenue situation. They have partners, AT&T, Verizon, Google, Vodafone, 50 billion of these types of uh, cell phone companies around the world that representing 3 billion potential customers. Since they are the first of their kind to access the public capital markets, and no one else has been able to access public capital markets, they can always, even if things went really, really bad, they could issue, more stock and get them through the tough times. But here's the thing. I don't think anybody else is going to be able to put up the money in order to even try to challenge them in this market, besides SpaceX. But I think they're going to be a distant number two. Massive uh, first conclusion bias that is causing Wall Street professionals to kind of like shy away from investing in this company because it came public via a SPAC, and people are lumping it in with the quantum computing type companies, which is like, science fiction for now, at least in terms of commercial applications, and fusion tech, fusion energy companies that have gone public in this way. And the original Iridium project is well known in business. case studies as one of as at the time it was the largest bankruptcy, the largest commercial failure in the 1990s of the satellite phone type of business model. So I think especially Wall Street pros that are my age will have this memory in their mind of all this money that was lost on the satellite to phone business model. Jim Cramer calls this company speculative. Okay. Um, so there's a little fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That way, I don't think he understands the science and technology of what's happening with this company. Opportunities for future growth, Internet of Things, including all the humanoid robots that are going to be coming out over the next 5 years. They're all going to need to be connected, and this is the perfect way to do that. Anything that moves, basically, we're talking drones. If you have drone delivery, which is already happening in a big way over in like Hong Kong and China, and they're already doing package delivery via drones. It's going to be happening all around the world. Continued adoption of broadband cell phone in lesser developed countries. Okay. Once this service is available, people in, Indonesia, Singapore, India, they're going to be signing up for this, people that don't currently have broadband connectivity. Reduce satellite manufacturing costs as their scale of production ramps up is going to reduce cost, and that's going to make it even more profitable. I believe that, and they already have very small amount of GPU integration in these satellites that are used in order to help like sort out all of the spectrum and bandwidth types issues with these satellites, with all the signals that are coming in. But I think that in the future, we're going to be moving a lot of the inference load of AI to space. And I know this sounds crazy, but when you drop the cost of moving stuff into space to such a low number, which is where we're at right now, when you have your satellite inference load done in space, you're able to capture unlimited energy from the sun at basically no cost, okay? And so, you know, with virtually free energy available 24/7 because the satellite is always exposed to the sun, then it gets us around this energy problem that is a huge issue in the year 2025 and beyond, in that people are going to war against the hyperscale companies that are trying to build these AI data centers right now. I live near Saline, Michigan. There's a huge amount of protest that has been occurring with the approval of this AI data center for various reasons. But number one, I think, is a lot of people are afraid that these AI data centers are going to demand so much electricity that people's utility bills are going to get jacked up. And so AI is driving the demand for mobile data, AI smart glasses, user created content. All right, it's just completely driving the demand for broadband type connection on mobile phones. Okay, so I recently put an investment into this, and I plan on building a position that should be a pretty sizable position in my portfolio. I want to caution everybody. We're talking about a space broadband satellite company. The stock price is going to be incredibly volatile, okay? And so this is not something that you want to try to trade, all right? This is something that, for me, I'm probably looking at it as like at least a 5 to 10 year type of investment horizon, and I'm willing to ride out those bumps that go up and down. I'm not a financial advisor, so this is going to be very risky. So you need to do your own research on this. Once again, I've called this YouTube channel the top of funnel because I'm putting the ideas out there for at the very high level for consideration. and you and your financial advisor needs to figure out whether or not this actually goes into something that you invest your money into. So, anyways, I appreciate your time and attention and happy holidays. And until next time, I'm Jeff Whitaker. Take care.